got the state of all these niggas just smoking their ass with us. Got a grand for the lower they pay for that. It's like the pop out pay the way. Hold on, money start flowing niggas to this retirement.
Post stream Nova here, currently editing. I just want to say I know the video is pretty long because this was cut from my stream, but I highly recommend you guys watch the parts that I labeled. So for example, the intro here, I really recommend the entire team watch this. But for the individual character sections, I guess you don't have to watch it if you don't want to. But I really recommend you guys watch the entire thing as a team. And if you have questions for each other, you can kind of hash it out. Or even if you have questions, you can post them in the comments or message me on Discord and ask me, and I'll try to answer them. But I really do recommend you just take this 2 hours out of your practice time to watch this, so you don't keep making the same mistakes over and over. Yeah, you can figure it out for yourself, but that's what I'm for, right? That's my job, to figure it out for you. So for the teams that I work with, for the teams that I coach, for the players that I coach, I really do recommend you just take this time. It's long, I know, it's boring, yeah, I know, but I really advise you take the time to watch this and F off for all I care, right? But I really want you to watch this, right? Cool. Hope you guys enjoy. Timestamps are in the description as well, or I'll post them in the comments, I'm not sure, but you can skip to whatever portion you want. So yeah, ball dive comp consists of ball, right? D.VA / SIG, Tracer, Sombra / Echo, and Brig and Z, right? This is ball dive. Ball, D.VA / SIG, Tracer, Sombra / Echo, Brig and Zen, or you could put Brig / Mercy as well, right? But for the most part, especially if the enemy team is running dive comp as well, you would want the Brig, right? So you almost always start with the Brig, and then, you know, if they're not running, or you can start with Mercy either way, but it doesn't really matter. It just depends on whether they're diving or not, right? That is the comp setup, right? We can start with some advantages. What are the advantages of the comp, right? What do you think about the ball tracer with Ash not called dive anymore? It still is, because it's still ball and tracer diving, right? Zen is still doing his job, Brig is still doing her job. And in that situation, this is one of the cases where you could swap your Brig for the Mercy and then have your Mercy pocket your Ash. But once again, if they are going to be running the dive, then you just need the Brig, because your Zen is just going to get fucking dove 24/7, right, for free. So yes, it still would be dive, but it would just be played in a slightly different way, because if you're going to get the Ash, then you're probably going to want the SIG as well, right? So you'd swap out the D.VA for the SIG, and then the Echo or the Sombra for the Ash, and then maybe the Brig for the Mercy. It'd still be dive, because your Tracer and Ball are still diving, but you would have a little bit more angle control, because one of the key things about, or one of the advantages of this comp, is just having almost complete map control, right? Because your Zen is going to be positioned in a way where he can access the enemy's core, right? He's going to be positioned where he can just dish out a huge amount of damage into the enemy's core and into their backline. And your Tracer and Ball and your Sombra are just going to be everywhere else, right? So your D.VA, your /SIG, your Zen, and your Brig are just going to be controlling a certain area, and your Ball and your Tracer are just pretty much going to have the rest of the map to do whatever they want. So to answer your question, yeah, you could swap the Ash, but you'd probably want a SIG, as I said, right? And if you can, if they're not running a dive, then you can go ahead and get the Mercy as well, right? And Ball and Tracer are unfazed. They're still doing their thing. They're still, you know, playing their mini game, right? Cool. So yeah, that is the comp. And yeah, so we could add Ash here as well, or Cassidy even, right? And same thing, if you're going to run the Cassidy, you'd probably want a SIG as well, right? So that is the comp, right? Why would you even play this, right? What are some of the advantages of this comp, right? So as I said, you have Yeah, no worries. You have really, if you position yourself correctly, you will have just really good map control, right? So once again, your Zen is positioned in an angle where he can see all the lanes, right? So I'll use an example here with the picture I have, right? Damn, I don't know. I think it's because it's full screen. Okay, yeah, whatever. Can I just zoom in? Okay, I can. Let's go. So let's say your position at gas station, right? Your let me make this a little bit smaller. And this is just an example. Your ball is positioned here. Your tracer somewhere over here. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Just an example. Your tracer somewhere over here. Your Zen is here, right? With your Brig. And your D.Va is here, right? Cool. As activate Windows, go to setting. I'm never activating Windows, dude. I'm telling you guys, I'm not activating Windows at all, ever. There's no point. I see no point in activating Windows. But yeah, right. So you guys can control the enemy. The enemy literally doesn't have access to this, so let's not even worry about that for now. But you control everything, right? Your Zen will be able to see anyone who comes through here. Your Zen will be able to see anyone who comes from under here. You will be able to see anyone who comes from here. You'll be able to see anyone who comes from here. So Zen is literally all seeing and all knowing right now, right? So there's no surprises. There's no flank to be had where he can't see, right? So you literally have information 24/7, right? On top of this is minusing your ball and your tracer, minusing what they're able to do right now, right? So yeah, a benefit is really strong map control, right? Another benefit is the mobility, right? Tracer mobility character, ball mobility character, echo mobility character, summer mobility character, D.Va mobility character. Zen is really the only stationary one, hence why he kind of has the Brig for the bodyguard, right? And we'll talk about Zen when we get to the actual individual characters, because that's what this is going to be. I'm doing a general explanation of the comp right now, but we will also be going over individual characters and what each guy should be doing at what time, where that person should be positioning, etc. Right? So yeah, strengths. Because of time zones, I still watch highlights, but there's not plenty. So yeah, no worries. Get some sleep, Caplers. I'm not very consistent with the streaming, so it's not really your fault at all, to be honest. But for sure, this should be saved, so you can definitely come back and see it. Right. So strength, mobility, map control, right? Burst damage. The amount of burst damage ball and tracer alone, minus the other 4 players on your team have, is absolutely insane, right? So, and once again, that's not even with your summer, that's not even with your echo, that's not even with your Zen who's doing damage with discords, right? That's just tracer and ball alone. The amount of burst damage tracer and ball has is just incredible, right? So if you can coordinate that dive on that target, they will get 100 to 0 in no time, right? So strength, burst damage, mobility, map control. Yeah, right? Those are just 3 main strengths of the comp, right? Some weaknesses. Every comp has its weaknesses. Every team has its weaknesses. It's your job, however, to hide your weaknesses as much as possible from the enemy team, from the enemy comp, right? Because every comp has a hole you can poke and exploit, right? So some of the weaknesses are, it is very setup required. The comp requires a good setup. It requires your ball to be set up properly. It requires your ball to have good macro understanding of the game and good pathing. It requires your tracer to have a good macro understanding of the game, good pathing, right? It is very timing based. It is required for your ball or your tracer or someone, one of the diving characters, to have some sort of timing on their engage. Pod driving Zen in 3-2-1, rolling through with grappling 3-2-1, some sort of synced timing from your ball and your tracer, or your tracer and your sombra, or your D.Va and your tracer, or someone, right? But the comp definitely is very timing based, right? Now that doesn't mean you always have to hit the target on time every single time, but every time you are going to hit the target, the timing needs to be active, right? A lot of the times ball and tracer players are out of sync. The ball is going in, but the tracer is 15 miles back, or the tracer just used recall and is getting a health pack, but the ball is still going in because he didn't calm anything with his tracer. He didn't count down his PD. He didn't call that he was rolling through, or is booping Sig off high ground, or is booping D.Va forward or Orisa forward or whatever, right? So it's definitely a very timing based comp, right? You don't have a lot of range damage, right? The only person doing any sort of range sustained fire is your Zen, right? Tracer is rolling, blinking around, looking for opportunity. Your ball is rolling around, looking for opportunity, poking, being annoying. Your D.Va is chilling on some sort of angle or with your backline, kind of shooting fusion cannons, maybe going in to help with the dive to DM ball a little bit, or DM tracer or whoever, or maybe falling back to help the backline. Doesn't really matter. D.Va kind of wears a few hats, right? But there is no ranged fire except for your Zen, right? Brig is close quarters. Your D.Va pretty much is close quarters unless they're on an angle. Your ball is close quarters. Your tracer is close quarters. Your sombra is close quarters, right? So there's no range sustained fire. So it's a very close range comp, and it requires you to be on top of your enemy to get any value, like half of the comp, right? So that is a weakness, right? Another, I guess you can put this under weaknesses, and it kind of lines up with the timing. The comms need to be on point. Ball and tracer needs to be talking. Your Zen needs to be talking to your Brig and your D.Va / Sig, right? Your sombra needs to be talking with your ball, or needs to be talking with your tracer. So comms needs to be on point, because once again, being that it's so timing based, we need to make sure at least 2 to 3 people are on the same page, right? To successfully coordinate a dive, or it's just not going to work. No questions asked. It's going to fail, right? So I guess you can kind of file that under a weakness as well, right? Some requirements for the comp to work. So far we've gone over advantages, we've gone over disadvantages, and now we're going to go over some requirements, as in some things that you need to do to make the comp work, right? A good setup is pinnacle. You need to be either setting up pre-fight or post-fight, right? Or even mid-fight. You can look for a good setup or a good engage, for example, with your ball, with your tracer, right? You need to be setting up for these fights, or it's not going to go very well. It's literally just going to look like you don't know what you're doing, and you're kind of winging it, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? It's just RNG at that point. If you don't have a good setup, it's up in the air. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, right? But having a good setup puts you in a position where the next fight is a lot less RNG and things are a little bit more scripted. Maybe it doesn't go according to plan. Sometimes it doesn't, right? But when you're setting up, you're setting yourself in a good standing for the plan to work out, right? So the comp definitely is, it is required to have a good setup, or just a decent setup, some setup. You can't just keep winging it, right? You can't just be rolling in and hoping shit works out, and hoping you don't get stunned or CC'd out or forced out or pushed out or something like that, right? So it is required to have a decent setup, right? A good spread of the team, meaning same example I used here, right? Because let's say, and this is an example of a terrible setup, right? Ball, D.Va, Zen, Brig, and your tracer. Everyone's just stacked on top, right? You have no control of the map. The enemy can roll through here for free. They can roll through here for free. They can roll through here for free. They can roll through here for free, right? There's no manpower stopping them from coming through here, stopping them from coming through here, stopping them from coming through here, stopping them from coming through there, right? So it is required, and this goes with the setup, right, to have a good team position spread, right? So your Zen is keeping an eye on this, under this area right here. He's also able to see this. He's also able to see main, but he's also able to see here. There's no surprises. The enemy can't get through undetected, right? Unless it's like a Sombra or something, which D.Va should be spy checking anyways, right? But for the most part, the team needs to be spread out in a way where you have just decent control of all the possible angles the enemy can attack from, right? Cool. Another requirement, comms. Spoke about it a little bit earlier. No questions asked. Any dive comp, you need to have comms. Any comp in the game, really, you want to have comms, but dive comp especially needs to have some sort of comms going on, right? Either your ball and tracer, your Brig and Zen, your Zen to your D.Va, your ball to your D.Va, whoever, but some sort of communication needs to be going on between at least two people, right? One person should just be talking, because at that point, you know, how do you know if your supports need peel? How do you know what your Zen's trying to do? If he's trying to rotate to this area, that area, how do you know if, you know, your tracer's calling for packs? Like, there just needs to be communication going on between the teammates here, right? So that's also a requirement. I put a good IGL shot caller. Yeah, that's just required for any team, for any comp, really. You really do want to have an IGL. Someone who's just the guy who's making the decisions, you know, a decision maker, I guess you can call that as well, right? Okay, we're rotating here. Okay, this is where we're going. Okay, this is what's gonna happen next fight. Okay, this is what we're gonna use. You know what I'm saying? Like, just someone to kind of lead the team, you know, IGL and game leader or girl, right? Yeah, for sure, or girl. Yeah, right. And the last thing I would say that's required, or not the last thing, but one of the things that's required as well, is thank you for the follow, Astral Mage. Appreciate you. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the chat. Another thing that is required as well is decent macro understanding of the game and the maps, right? So once again, I spoke on this a little bit earlier, but as these mobility characters, as Ball, as Tracer, as Sombra, as Doomfist, as Echo, Farah, right? You need to understand the maps. You need to understand, okay, this is X, this is where I want to go, right? This is X. Okay, how do I get to X? How do I get there? Right, this is my spawn, and this is X. This is the end goal. This is where the enemy is. This is where the Zen, who's by himself, no one's around him. I am at my spawn, and I want to get to X. Okay, how do I get to X? Do I walk directly and then go up and jump up here and try to kill him here? Right? Do I go around under and go through and go under gas station and come up the stairs and get him here? Right? Do I go around and, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many ways to go, but to master these characters, you need to know what's the ideal way to get there, right? And the ideal way to get there is typically the way that you can take the least amount of damage from, right? So the way that you're going to take the most amount of damage from is going through main. Everybody and their gram can see you. The guys who are up here can see you. The guys who are up here can see you. Everyone's going to be shooting at you, right? So if you're Ball and you roll through main, you're going to lose half your HP immediately, right? However, rolling through here, maybe you get discorded by Zen, maybe you get poked by him, which you can get through for free, right? If you go around, you're probably just free. Maybe when you get right here, they'll shoot you a bit, right? But just understand, just having a good understanding of the maps, pathing and rotations, right, is something that's also required, especially for the Zen, especially for the Ball, especially for the Tracer, right? Would you say there's one superior ball comp variation or more like Pokemon comp A? Yeah, I'd say it's map dependent, but just standard. It is the Ball D.Va, Tracer, Sombra, Zen, and Brig. Why? It just covers all the bases. Every other variation of the comp has a huge gaping weakness that can be exploited, right? But their weakness is huge, but the benefit goes up. Like what they can do is a lot better than what the standard version can do, you know? So for example, swapping the Sig out for the D.Va, yeah, you get more angular control, you get more range damage. Sig is going to be spamming, right? So while Sig is on the front line doing his thing, trying to get access into the back line, or even just distracting the front line, Ball and Tracer come from behind, get an easy kill. However, the trade-off for that, for the damage and the angular control, is not as much peel, right? Because DM, Defense Matrix, is a huge ability to peel with, right? So swap, it's kind of like a trade-off, you know what I'm saying? So boom, swap Sig for the D.Va, not as much peel and not as much mobility, right? Because Sig doesn't have any mobility aside from you can get a rock jump or his ultimate, right? So there's always trade-offs no matter what. So it's dependent. It kind of depends on what it is that you and your team are trying to accomplish, you know? Yeah. Right. So it's definitely dependent on what you and your teammates are trying to accomplish, and sure, it can depend on the map as well, right? Because maybe if it's a map that doesn't have a lot of vertical mobility, then sure, you can probably throw the Sig in there. But if there's just a lot of high ground that the enemy team can abuse, let's say they have a hit scan like a soldier who's like flank master, right? He gets on a high ground, the only thing Sig can really do is shield it off, right? And if you're shielding off the soldier, the other DPS from the front line is going to be kind of taking advantage of the shield being there, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to D.Va, if you can just fly up there, 4-second booster cooldown, shoot the soldier, scare him off, and still drop back down to help her team, and still drop back down to peel for a team, you know? So it's definitely like map dependent, and I'll just say what it is that your team is trying to do, right? So that bridges me into my next point, which is the variants, right? So I have some variants here. You can Sig instead of D.Va, you can Echo instead of Sombra, you can Ashe instead of Sombra, you can Hanzo instead of Sombra, right? And just kind of help your Sig on the front line with the angular damage. You can Mercy instead of the Brig, right? But if they have dive 100%, that's no question, you need to go back to Brig. Or if you're gonna not go Brig, then you're gonna have to swap off the Zen, and at that point you're kind of just playing a different comp, right? Because Brig, Tracer, and Zen are the bread and butter of the comp, which we'll get to Zen's role later, because he has a very important role, right? So we kind of went over the general stuff, so we'll kind of go into the individual character stuff, and there's still a little bit more general stuff I want to talk about, which is what I'll get into right now, right? So one of the most important resources when playing ball dive, and frankly any dive, is the resource of attention, right? The enemy team's attention, right? It can be very expensive, but if you can purchase it, if you can buy it, if you can buy their attention, man, you're looking really good, right? So what does okay, delayed Sigma plus Mercy variation on its own? Sure, yeah. So what does that even mean? What I mean when I say buying attention, right? Mobility character Ball, mobility character Tracer, mobility character Sombra, mobility character Echo. These heroes are just really good at distracting, right? You see a Ball in your back line, you not even first instinct, you have no choice but to look at him. Maybe not commit a resource, but you have to look in his direction, shoot him, maybe commit a resource, right? Maybe throw a shield to block him off from doing damage, or throw some healings towards whoever he's shooting, right? You genuinely have to look in his direction, especially if he's on your support, right? If he's on your backline. Seeing a Tracer and a Ball in your backline, however, changes the game completely. You have to devote resources on whoever it is that they dive on, right? So whether that resource be lamp, whether it be armor packs from Brig, whether it be nades from Ana, whether it be shift from BAP, something, right? it forces the enemy team to now look at you and commit some sort of resource to keep whoever it is alive that your tracer and your ball chose to hop on, right? So you not almost always, you always, as ball tracer or just as any sort of dive comp, you want to try and put the enemy team in these impossible decisions. You always want to give them choices, but whatever decision they make, whatever choice they make, you always want it to benefit you. So a good example of this is, let's say, and this is what happened in a game that I was spectating. Let's say the enemy team is here, right? Hold on. Right. We'll call them bad guys, right? Let's say the bad guys are here, and this is your spawn. Let's say you're getting spawn camped, right? And as I said, if you're here in Terra, you saw how you were playing this game. So this is what happened in a game that I was watching. Let's say you're getting spawn camped here, and the enemy team said, you know what, F these guys, we're gonna try to hold them in their spawn, and they deployed all their resources to keep you in spawn, right? Your core, right, your Sig or your D.Va, your Zen and your Brig are engaged in their fight, right? They are shooting at each other, resources are being exchanged, damage is going back and forth, right? As ball or tracer, or as tracer, just tracer alone can do it. The payload is right here, right? What can you do? What option do you have? You can go ahead and fight with your team. Maybe you guys can get some picks, but mind you, you're getting spawn camped, right? You're getting held at spawn, so maybe fighting isn't the best option. But what you can do, right, is rotate around and force the point. Come to the point, right? Because now, what choice does the enemy have? We either have to fight the core, right? Your Zen, your Brig, your other DPS, and your D.Va, or we have to stop the card. Whatever choice they make, you benefit. Because if they devote resources to stopping you from getting the cart, now your team is getting an advantage because they're probably sending 2 people on cart to try to stop you, right? Or if they ignore the tracer and focus on the core and try to spawn camp you some more, tracer's getting free cart push. Right? So you always want to kind of put the enemy team in this impossible scenario where no matter what they choose to do, you're gonna get value or your team's gonna get value. So in that situation, once again, it's either they default resources to stop you from pushing cart for free, or they decide to fight and try to kill your team and you push cart for free, or they devote resources to come and stop you from cart and your team gets the advantage because they sent over one of their DPSs so they're lacking damage, or they sent over their off tank so their main tank is exposed, or they sent over one of their support or something like that, right? So you always want to try to make them force them into these scenarios where whatever they choose, once again, they don't really gain anything, right? 1 second. 13 minutes ago. Got you. So yeah, the resource attention, man, super valuable, right? Because if you can have the Baptiste or the Ana just turn around for 3 seconds to try and sleep the ball, or because she's getting dove by the tracer and the ball, she has to use nade on herself, or Bap has to use lamp on himself, what does that mean for your team? That means Zen is free to do whatever the hell he wants, right? Because the enemy team isn't getting any healing, right? Your second DPS, your Sombra, your Echo, whoever, is now open to a lot more opportunities to get damage into the backline or get damage onto the tanks, because now the Ana is focused on the ball and the dive. Her attention is on, the people who are trying to kill her, as opposed to whatever's going on in the front line. She isn't healing her tanks because she has to worry about the ball and the tracer, right? And sometimes that doesn't even mean shooting. Once again, just existing puts the fear of God into them, right? So that attention resource is super important, as I keep saying, because just having them turn around for 5 seconds can give your team, your Zen, your Sig, your D.Va, your other DPS a window of opportunity to make a play. Just 5 seconds, right? If you can get the kill, great, you're amazing. But sometimes just doing damage and forcing out CDs is more than enough. Because if you can force the Ana to use nade on herself, that means her Rein isn't going to get the nade. That means her Sig isn't going to get the nade. That means her whoever tanks are going to, her Winston isn't going to get the nade, right? So if we're talking about double bubble, right? So just forcing a nade on, forcing Ana to use nade on herself now gives your team a huge advantage because the Winston isn't going to get nade. Now, it is not only is he not going to get nade, he's not going to get nanoed as well, right? Or unless the Ana just suicides and throws the nano out and dies right after, right? So that attention resource, super important, right? Cool. So let's get into the individual characters, right? So we're gonna go over Ball, we're gonna go over D.Va, we're gonna go over Tracer, we're gonna go over Zen, we're gonna go over Brig, and we'll go over some Sombra as well, right? Because, you know, going over the overall stuff is cool, telling you guys what you should be doing is cool, but I think it'll benefit you guys a little bit more if I literally tell you what you should be doing at whatever time, right? Like each person on the team, this is what you should be doing, this is how you should be positioned, etc., right? I feel that will with a little bit more value. So we'll look at we'll look at our Ball really quickly. Right. And how I'm gonna do it is I kind of have it structured a bit. So for each character, I'll go over like a little mantra you can sing to yourself, or not sing to yourself, but a little mantra you can remember to kind of help you remember what you're supposed to be doing at all times, right? So I'll give an example. So for example, for Ball, Wrecking Ball, I have Displace, Distract, Dive, right? Those are the 3 things you're going to be focused on with Ball in this comp. You're looking to displace the enemy, you're looking to distract them, you're looking to dive, right? And within dive, you can put just straight up killing them, right, with your Tracer, or forcing resources, right? So you can put that under dive as well. So once again, for my Wrecking Ball players, displace, distract, dive, right? Displace, distract, dive. That's your mantra. That's what you want to be singing to yourself, right? Cool. And within each character explanation as well, I'm going to give a piece of pinnacle advice. Pinnacle meaning the thing you need to do. You gotta be doing this every single time, right? That's the most important thing, right? So once again, for each character, I'll give you a little mantra. You can, a little summary of your role, and then I'll give you a piece of pinnacle advice for that role for that character as well, right? Cool. So, Ball, you just submitted a code. Bard, you said you wanted to pick up the Ball character, or you're kind of forced to pick up Ball now. So this is specifically for you, right? For the Ball players, or the would-be Ball players, right? First thing, fresh off the boat, no questions asked. A requirement, if you will, is to coordinate with, drumroll please, your Tracer, right? It's called Ball comp or Ball Tracer comp for a reason, right? Because Ball and Tracer are the duo, the pair, right? Now, you don't need to be with your Tracer 24/7. You don't have to freaking have her sniffing your butt cheeks, right? But for the most part, you want to be in relatively close to each other, right? So some sort of coordination with your Tracer, right? And I'll get into it a little bit more when I get to Tracer's part, but that's just a intro, I guess, right? To that required part. Some requirements and things to work on. Good macro is needed. As I said earlier, the mobility characters, Ball, Tracer, Sombra, Echo, Doom, whoever, if it's a fast character, you need to have a good map, good pathing, good rotation understanding of the game, right? Once again, let's say the end goal is X. How do I get to X, right? That is the question you need to be asking yourself. How do I get to X? Do I go here? Do I go here? Do I go there? Where do I go to get to X? Right? So a good macro understanding of the game is required, right? Okay, let's say I got to X. Where do I go now? Can I go, or should I go under to get my health back? You should. Should I roll over to their backline and try to reset on and slam on this tag character again? Like, there's so many questions to ask yourself when it comes to maps, right? How do I play this map? Right? And if you don't know this, if you don't know rotations, if you don't know where to go to get to your target, you're going to have a hard time. Because if you don't know, that means you're going to be taking the bot way, right? You're going to be defaulting, right? You're going to enter bot mode. And that means you're going to roll through main and drop on the target the most obvious bot way. And you're going to get Brig Bash, you're going to get flashed, you're gonna get hooked, you're gonna get rocked, you're gonna get pulled, you're gonna get pinned, you're gonna get hacked, you're gonna get hit with all the CC, right? So it is important, it is required that you know your maps and you know your best means of engagement, but also know your best means of disengaging, right? Things go sour, you get hacked midair, mid PD or something, and you get caught out and you're kind of fucked. Where do I go to stop myself from getting killed, right? So that's required as well, right? The better you get at knowing the maps, knowing you're engaged, knowing you're disengaged, the better you'll be, the more uptime you'll have. The more uptime you have, the more effective you'll be, the more damage you'll do. The more damage you'll do, the more fights you win, the more ults you get, and so forth, right? I recommend, right? So this is a tip. I'm not sure if, I think I have tips for each of the characters, but this is just a tip that I said I'd throw in for Ball. Go into, I'm sure there's a custom game mode, but you can just go into Total Mayhem, right? And just roll around the maps, right? What I'd recommend doing when you get into a map, look at the most common hotspots, the most common choke points, and because it's Total Mayhem, you can spam your grapple. You try your best to look at the most optimal way of getting in, right? So once again, let's use the X example. Okay, it's Total Mayhem, you can grapple. Okay, where would I want to grapple to? Where would I want to roll through to get to X, right? So this will help you kind of figure out the most optimal pathing, right? So in your head, just imagine a scenario or imagine a comp that the enemy team has, and imagine a target that you'd want to hop on. And you know, the common setup is everybody pretty much stay up here with some people over there or somebody right here. So as Ball, how would you get here, right? So that's a tip. Just go into the maps and mess around and work on your grappling locations as well, and just how to get in and out of a fight, right? Fairly simple. Nothing too complex there, right? Micro as well. You need to know how to do your double jump or your super jump or whatever jump they call it on Ball, where you kind of just jump onto, you kind of get the super jump if you jump on a certain angle, on a certain like wall or something. You can get that double jump, and that double jump will allow you to get a PD, a pile driver, right? So knowing that, knowing the best the height to grapple to depending on what you're trying to do. So you can do your triple boop, right? You want to know how to triple boop, you want to know how to backwards boop, right? You want to know all these little techs with Ball as well. But I'd say those come after. More importantly though, you need to get a good macro understanding first. You know, pathing, rotations, how to get in, how to get out, how to get to X. That comes first, and then you can work on the other stuff. Because what's the point of knowing how to triple boop if you can't even get in and get out of a fight without feeding, right? So those things come first, right? Comms, right? As Ball, like in the top where I spoke about comms, you need to at least. Total Mayhem is in arcade today, right? You can do it in customs though, right? You can go to game browser, settings, presets, and go to Total Mayhem, right? And hop in and do whatever you want to do. Cool. So yeah, as Ball, and I know when I say just comms, it's kind of intimidating, right? I don't know, maybe you're a shy guy, right? Maybe you don't, or a shy girl, or shy they, them, right? And you don't like talking. You don't like to use your mic, right? I'm not telling you to go out there and IGL and lead your team to victory, right? You can, that would be great, but just start with one person, and that one person can be your tracer, right? Okay, well, what do you say? What do you come? What should you say in your mic? Something as simple as pile driving in 3, 2, 1, rolling through in 3, 2, 1. I'm looking to boop the sig off the high ground. I'm looking to roll through again. I'm gonna grab health back real quick. Just literally communicating with just one person, your tracer, what it is that you're trying to do will up the effectiveness of the comp tenfold, and I'll explain why in a second, right? So once again, you don't have to lead the team. You don't got to be the IGL. You don't got to tell everyone what to do. It's great if you can, but we'll take baby steps. We'll start with your tracer. Once again, good example. Okay, I'm looking to slam sig, or I'm looking to slam zen into the air. 3, 2, 1. Your tracer now knows exactly what it is that you're trying to do, because once again, what happens a lot of the time is that mistimed aggression with tracer and ball, and frankly almost any DPS and tank duo. So this is what it looks like, or this is what an example of bad of mistimed aggression looks like, right? So I don't know, bad positioning is a key part of it as well. So let's say your tracer is waiting here, right? They're coming from their second. What was that? Was that a follow? Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the chat. Let's say your tracer's there. The enemy team is coming from their spawn, right? So they're coming out of here. And your ball is when can I do coaching for Genji? I'm not even sure when I'll be live again, but you should definitely hop in my Discord. I'm doing paid coaching as well, because as you can see, I don't really stream very consecutively. So you can just message me on Discord for some paid coaching if you want. If not, it's fine. I don't know when I'll be live again though, so yeah. But let's say your ball is here, X on yellow, right? So this is an example of once again mistimed aggression. Your ball doesn't calm, he doesn't talk, he doesn't say slamming in 3, 2, 1, he doesn't say rolling through in 3, 2, 1, he doesn't say anything. His mic is off. He waits until the enemy pushes up and the backline is exposed. This is the enemy's backline. Their backline is exposed. They don't have anyone to peel. They don't have anyone to help them out. Ball goes in, goes for a PD onto the backline, does a bunch of damage, but now the D.Va flies back, the Ana gets healed up, and the D.Va is now down here with the Ana. Ball has to retreat because he probably took a lot of damage. He's swooping back, but then now the Tracer's going in when the Ana's already back to full HP, and now she has her D.Va to peel, right? So the tank is backing out and the DPS is going in, right? Or the DPS is going in and the tank is backing out. Sometimes that's fine, because Ball is one of those characters where he's really, really good at forcing out cooldowns, right? So maybe an argument can be made that, yeah, Ball went in and he forced out the nade on the Ana, which is fine, and maybe the Tracer can come in now, but the issue is the Ana has the D.Va now, right? Because the Ball alerted the D.Va to the Ana, and now the D.Va is like camping the Ana, right? So we kind of lost that element of surprise that we had, right? So that's an example of that mistimed aggression. So the ball is running for his life. He can't re-engage anymore because he took a shit ton of damage. But now the tracer's just not going in. The honest nade is like 3 seconds away from being back up. There's no way the Ana dies because she now has a D.Va and she's about 3 seconds away from the nade, right? So yeah, comms. Don't have to lead the team. Just something as simple as calling out what it is that you're trying to do, calling out when it is that you're using your ability, and you don't got to say it to the whole team. It'll be nice if you can, but once again, we're taking baby steps, right? So just start with your tracer first, right? Because I know IGLing and I know calling stuff can be a little bit intimidating. So that's why I'm saying just kind of take baby steps and start with your tracer first, and then you can kind of take it from there and go to your entire team, right? Julio Dulio. As I said earlier, good micro is important as well. You need to work on your grapples. You need to know how high you need to grapple to get to where it is that you want to go. You need to know how high to grapple to get your fireball going, to get your triple boops, to get your reverse boops, right? Just understanding the character. That comes with playtime, so the more you play him, the better you become at that, but it also comes with practice. You definitely want to go into workshop modes and practice grapples, practice pile drivers, practice your double jumps, your super jumps, right? With ball, and just getting a really, really good understanding of his kit, just stat overall, right? And that's our ball segment, right? How do we feel about that, Marth, and whoever it is that's curious about playing ball? Do you have any questions? Any questions at all? Yeah, the guns. What about them? What about the guns? The guns. Okay, so while you type that, we will look at the next section, which is our drum roll. What should my timing be? How long should I generally spend shooting before I consider just doing something else? I mean, there really isn't anything else to do. So, well, there is. We talk about, hold on, let me get this for you. Where is it? I really need glasses. Where's ball? Ah, here we go. How do I make sure to not get forced out and still properly set up with my tracer? Same for the tracer player until ball is ready. Well, yeah, that goes on the setup, right? So, well, I guess it's kind of, both your questions are kind of the same. So I think I can answer both of them at the same time. So let's say you are on defense, right? Our core is here, right? Our Zen, our Brig, our D.Va, maybe our Cassidy or whoever the other DPS is, and you are here as ball, waiting for them to come through so you can get an easy slam into their backline, and your tracer is hanging out down here or under or up top with you. It doesn't really matter, right? So a few things will dictate how long you can stay into the enemy's backline, right? So one of the key things that'll dictate that is the comp that they're running. Because if they have the Brig character, things don't become difficult, but it just kind of takes away the freedom that you have, right? Because I'll let you know this. If you're playing against a mirror, as in they're playing the same backline as you, it is very, very rare that ball will be able to get a kill onto Brig Zen if they're stacked together. It's almost impossible, right? Unless they're just bots. Because the moment you hop on the Zen, Brig is going to pack him and she's going to proc Inspire on you. So it's rare you're going to be able to kill him, right? Or if you hop on the Brig, Zen is going to orb her and she's going to proc Inspire her again, right? So you won't really get any solo value as ball. So a lot of kill potential, I should say. You won't get a lot of kill potential as ball if they're running Brig and Zen. because those are the only two you would want to kill anyways. You're not going to kill the ball, you're not going to kill the tracer, you're not going to kill the other DPS, right? Unless they throw. For the most part, the only people you're really going to be primarily diving and focusing on is the Brig and the Zen, right? Or if they have an Ana or a BAP or something, right? But the character who kind of throws a wench in things when it comes to ball play, solo ball play, is Brig, because she just shuts your whole shit down, right? So that's why they're paired together. That's why almost every part of the comp is interchangeable except for the ball and tracer bit, because they really, really complement each other really, really well, right? So you said how to make sure it's not get forced out. It's still properly set up with my tracer. So how to make sure you don't get forced out is having good pathing, right? Because a counter to dive is taking damage, is the enemy team having a lot of spam, right? Because if they can spam you and drain your HP to like 200 before you even engage, so once again we'll use the X example. So if your pathing is poor and the Zen discords you and shoots you like 3 times, the Sig spams you out a little bit, and you're still looking to engage on the backline, now you're missing 200, 300 HP. It's not looking good for you. Even with this PD, you still might end up dying with the Brig Bash and the Sig Rock, right? So a way to increase your uptime, once again, is to have good map knowledge, is to know where to engage from and how to get to the point that it is that you're trying to get to, right? What should your timing be? Your timing pretty much kind of depends on like, you know, what game mode, what, you know, what's happening with the enemy team, because that's where you're trying to get, right? You're trying to get into their backline. So obviously if they push out a spawn, right? Oh shit, that's huge. Obviously if they push out a spawn, they're literally stepping out of spawn right now. You can't hop on them, right? Because they're all stacked as 6. However, let's say they push payload forward, the tanks are up here, but you see that the supports are all the way back here because they want to play it safe. This is your time, right? Because if the tanks are all the way up here, the time it'll take them to get all the way back here, it might be too late unless they have a D.Va, of course, right? But for the most part, you want to look for that gap in the enemy team's comp, right? When the backline is super split from their tanks or someone who's just out of position, right? And you can even make a play on the tanks here if you wanted to try and do something, right? Because what did we say about ball? We'll pull it up here. We said we want to, we'll call it the 3 Ds, right? We want to distract, we want to displace, and we want to dive, right? So if we can displace the tanks, if we can push this Sig, right? So the Sig's playing here, but if we can boop him around or boop him forward enough to where his Ana breaks LOS with him or his Zen breaks LOS with him, now our core, right? Our Zen, our Sig, our D.Va can make a play on the Sig, right? So basically you're just looking for opportunities to go in. If they don't have the Brig character, you need to be living in their backline. You need to be abusing whoever it is that their support is if they don't have Brig, right? But if they have a Brig, things just kind of get not difficult, but you just can't get as much value. Well, you could, but it's not as easy, I should say, right? Because Brig just kind of says, F you ball, you can't get in here for free. I'm going to bash you and I'm going to whiplash you away and I'm going to have incredible healing, right? Yeah, so just looking for opportunity for you, Dragon, to not get forced out, or not you, look for having good pathing, Marth, and looking for an opportunity into the backline, to get into the backline when the tanks push up, or if they don't have Brig. If they don't have Brig, bro, that Ana, that BAP, that whoever their backline is should not be alive, or should not just be healing for free. You need to be harassing them, right? You need to be distracting them, right? But if they do get the Brig, then you and your tracer need to calm a little bit more, because you won't be able to roll in and roll out for free, right? Does that answer your questions? Are we clear on that? Like on the topic of setup, you just need to know the maps, right? You need to know the maps. You need to know where the hotspots are, where the fights typically kick off, right? Because if you go and you practice Route 66, you will know that the fights almost always, that the enemy team almost always sets up here, right? So if you're practicing, once again, how do we get here? How do we get to their backline, right? So that's how to set up, right? Ball is almost always the initiator, meaning you're almost always the guy who's going to go in first. You're going to get the rock. You're going to get the CC, right? So that's what I mean by sometimes, even if you have bad timing, you can still take advantage of it. Because you roll in as a ball, you get slapped with the whole book. They hit you with every CC known to man. But what does that mean for Tracer? Tracer's free to go in. He doesn't have to worry about Brig Bash. He doesn't have to worry about Rock, right? Because you, ball player, just took everything or dodged everything and forced it out, right? So, yeah. So, and to answer the segment, you said, how long should I generally spend shooting before I consider just doing something else? I mean, you can DDD, right? You can distract. You can distract. You can dive with your trace. Wait, can I change my Q position? I'm not even really sure if I'm gonna do VOD reviews today, because I'm gonna have a team playing right now, and I'm supposed to do something for Kree's team as well for Inspire. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the regular VOD reviews today. Maybe after. I had one where I played against a 4.4 main tank. But yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm gonna look at regular codes today. Because I want to look at my other team, and I want to look at Inspire stuff as well. So yeah. Right. And yeah, that's the ball character, right? Do we have any more questions? Are you guys good? Oh, well, yeah, boom. So we can look at you for a little bit. Or after I do Inspire, I can look at you as well. Right? So yeah, that pretty much covers ball generally, right? If you want to go more in depth, I would suggest you try to get a VOD review with me, and we can really go into, okay, what should you be doing at this specific time? Should you have engaged here? Should you have PD'd here, etc., right? But this is just a general understanding of what your job is as ball in this comp. If you want to get more in depth, once again, you definitely want to try to get a VOD review done. So you either can schedule it by doing the paid coaching. Paid coaching is better than this version, free coaching, because I go a lot more in depth. I give you a lot more resources you can use. And I'll admit, I just care more. I'll devote a lot more time into explaining things. If you do the paid coaching, and that goes for every role, by the way. Every character I'm gonna explain later on. Right. So yeah. Right. So that's ball. Okay. D.Va. Where are my D.Va players? Do we have any D.Va players in chat? D.Va players in chat. And I'm gonna use this as a baseline as well. I'm gonna use this when I ever talk about Ballcom, so I'm gonna show it to a few teams as well. So yeah, that's why I'm just going super in depth and asking and seeing if you guys have any questions, because the questions you have is probably gonna be the same questions that the other players are gonna have when I eventually show this VOD to them. So I'm definitely trying to take a little bit more time on each character to just make sure I hit all the points and I hit all the nails on the heads. Right. Cool. So the next The next character is D.Va, right? So, D.Va, the character on the team, or pretty much one of the heroes in the game who has like 50 different jobs, who can do like 50 different things, right? You can peel, you can apply pressure, right? You can peel, you can apply pressure, you can poke, right? D.Va can kind of do a bit of everything, right? So why would you even play D.Va over Sig? I spoke about it earlier, right? But Sig kind of changes the playstyle into enabling your Zen a bit more and allowing your other DPS to take a bit more space, right? Because Sig can now camp on a high ground and do range damage into the enemy's backline, as opposed to D.Va, where, yeah, she could still be on that high ground, that same high ground, but just wouldn't do as much damage to, you know, whoever the enemy backline or the front line or whatever, right? So D.Va has access to these high grounds, right? To these vertical angles where she can either enable herself, enable her team, or disable the enemy DPS, right? With DM, with her huge body, with her high close range damage, basically shotguns, right? She basically has shotguns up close, right? The fusion cannons. So the three things, your mantra with D.Va, right, is peel, poke, enable, or deny, right? That's the thing you always want to be thinking about when you're playing the D.Va into this comp, and frankly, every comp, right? D.Va's the same in almost every comp. Your job is a bit of the same, right? It varies a little bit per comp, but for the most part, the main ideas are the same, right? So I'll put it on screen here for you visual learners. Peel, right? Poke, right? Enable, or deny, right? You're enabling your team, you're denying or disabling the enemy team or the enemy DPS, right? You're enabling your backline or enabling your ball, you're denying or disabling. My picture's covering the text? What do you mean? Oh, my camera? Gotcha. One second. Oof. Can you stop being weird? Right? Let me just put it over. For you visual learners, right? Peel, poke, enable, or deny, right? Enable your team, deny the enemy team, right? So these are the song. This is the song you want to be singing in your head. If you're completely confused mid game, your brain just goes kaput, and you don't know what to do. Remember this: it's either you need to be peeling, it's either you need to be poking, right? Or and under poking you can put angles, right? Or you need to be enabling your teammates or denying / disabling the enemy team. This is something you're doing at all times. It's impossible to do all three at the same time. You can probably do two at the same time, right? You can peel and enable your team, right? Because by peeling, you're enabling them, you're keeping them alive, you're making them live more and do more damage, do more healing, whatever, right? And by peeling, you're also denying the enemy team because you're saying, hey, F you, get DM'd, kid. No pulse bomb for you, no damage for you. My teammates are invincible, right? So you can't do all three at the same time. And I guess you're poking them, you're doing damage to them, right? But when I say poke, it's more doing a bit of initial damage before the dive even commences, right? And Junkertown, what about Junkertown? Yeah, so you're never really doing all three at the same time. You're probably doing two at the same time. But once again, if you're ever lost as to what your role is and what you're supposed to be doing at the time, it is most likely going to be one of these. Right? Go. Welcome to the real World Cup. What did you guys play? What comp did you play? Okay. Can I zoom in here? Yeah, I can. Cool. Okay. Fucking Bastion and Twerv. Actual cancer. Okay. So yeah, D.Va, right? Peel, poke, enable, or deny. The player in the comp who has the most freedom, right, or not most freedom, but who has the most responsibility, I guess, the most amount of things to do is D.Va, because as I said, you're doing a combination of these things, right? You're either peeling for your backline, peeling for your front line, you're either poking the enemy backline, you're either diving with your tracer or diving with your ball, or falling back to protect your Zen, or falling back to protect your Brig. But also they have a hit scan who's trying to go on the high ground and get access into your backline, so you have to fly to him and force him out and get him away from that high ground. So there's so many things that you can do as D.Va. There's no way you're gonna do them all. It's impossible. You're only one person. You can only be so many places at once, right? What's more important is that you do the most important ones, right? We played double shield, Bastion, Torbit because we had a hard read. They'd play Sombra. That's hard to read stream snipe. Yeah, right? So it's impossible to do all these things at once. It's not feasible, right? You can't, right? Once again, what's most important is that you're doing the ones that matter the most. Right, and it's probably peeling, right? Especially once again, if you're in a mirror match and they're playing ball dive, your Zen is gonna get dope. Your Brig is gonna get dope, right? You need to be there to DM them and use those micro missiles and use those fusion cannons to do that heavy damage into them and force them out, right? So your jobs include, once again, denying the enemy DPS, enabling your dive, protecting and peeling your ball to your tracer or your Zen and Brig, the occasional dive, etc. Right? DM management is pinnacle. So this is the pinnacle advice I give for each character, right? So for D.Va, it is DM management, right? You need to have good or just decent DM management. Or what, even better, as long as you're learning, right? As long as you're trying to get better at managing your DM, you're on the right track. You'll get there eventually, right? Because it is the main tool that you use to peel, right? To protect your Zen from that tracer who's about to one-clip melee him, right? Or to protect your Zen from the ball machine guns, or protect your Zen from the Sombra when she hacks him, or to protect your Brig from the Sombra when she gets hacked, right? That's the main tool you're using to actually negate the damage that's coming into them, right? Is your DM. So if you're just using DM and having 0 DM when the dive actually starts and your backline's getting dove, there's not really much you can do to stop them from dying. You'll be able to do damage, sure, but you won't be able to stop anyone from dying or stop anyone from taking any damage, right? So that DM management is very, 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 very important, right? It is your main source of negating damage and keeping your backline alive, because they will get dove. It's no questions about it. They're gonna get dove, right? If the enemy team's playing a dive comp. So you need to have that DM online at least half to full when that dive starts, right? So you can help them out a little bit, or not a little bit, a huge bit, right? Your huge character model is great at protecting. Zen has I wouldn't say a small hitbox, but it's pretty easy to hit the Zen, right? So if you can literally stand in front of him and protect them, like without even using any abilities, and take some shots for him, you're huge, right? Your boosters can be used for a plethora of things. You can use it for maneuvering, displacing, like booping the enemy back. Like if a Winston jumps in, you can use your boosters to literally push his ass back so he doesn't hit you and your team. You can use it to retreat to your backline. You can use it to advance to the front line, to help your ball, to help your tracer. You can use it to dive. You can use it to deny. You can use it for so many things, right? And due to that fact, I'm not really concerned with how you use it and why you use it. My main concern is where you end up when you're done, right? And that's the part of that's the part of boosters that a lot of players just forget about and wonder why they feed on D.Va. It's not the fact that you boop the Winston away with your boosters. It's not a fact that you use your boosters to knock someone off or displace them or go here or go there. It's about where you end up, right? Because you see the soldier on the high ground, so you rocket boost towards him, you fire your micro missiles while you're flying, he runs away, but right after he runs away, you didn't retreat back to your team and you kind of just fell flat in the middle of nowhere, right? Or you chose to go all the way up to where he is when he already ran off. Because what's going to happen when you leave? Your backline is now going to get dove, right? Yeah, it's Brig Zen, but Balls Tracer, Brig Zen, it's a 2v2 at that point, right? If the Ball Tracer plays their cards right, they can easily win that, right? As opposed to you being close by, it's a different story, right? So when using that boosters, you need to be very, very mindful of where it is that you land when you're done with your boosters. When you accomplish that goal of denying the DPS and getting him out of here. What's up? Thank you for the follow. Maggie came from Overwatch. Nice. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. When you deny that thing, once you do your job, right? So let's say you saw someone over here, right? You saw a soldier sitting here getting fire into your backline. And you're like, oh, hell no. I'm not going to let this soldier get that for free. The moment you start flying towards him, he's going to run away. So the moment you start flying towards him, you can use your micro missiles, sure, scare him off a bit. But what needs to happen is you need to now make a quick turn and come back to your teammates. Come back to your backline. Right? Super, super, super important. Because if a soldier sees a D.Va flying towards them and they're on a flank, they're not going to sit there and they're not going to shoot you. They're going to retreat back and maybe come back again later. Right? But what that soldier just did is he bought that important resource we spoke about. And that's the attention, right? He bought your attention. Right? And now you're stuck over here. Your backland's getting dove by the ball, by the tracer. Just because you used your boosters and you ended your boosters here. As opposed to using boosters, which is fine, but coming back to your team. Right? So as I said, yeah, there can be wrong usage of boosters, but I'm not really concerned why you use it or when you use it. I'm really, really concerned about where you end up when you're done with your boosters. Because you need to always either be on some sort of high ground or back to wherever you came from. Right? Because in comms, I guarantee you, soldiers are going to call, D.Va no fly, and that's a huge, huge signal for the ball tracers to go in and try and kill your backline. Right? Because you've left them for dead, basically. You've abandoned them for no reason. Right? Micro missiles can be used to help heal, right? When the ball comes on your Zen, on your Brig, when the tracer hops on, right? Tracer's only 150 HP. Landing some micro missiles on the tracer can be the difference between her staying in the fight and her retreating. I think we'll follow. Jet, appreciate you. Welcome to the stream. Landing just a few micro missiles on the tracer can be the difference between forcing her recall and her staying in the fight and getting a kill on your backline, right? So micro missiles are really, really huge for that chip damage, right? Or just that burst damage when they eventually hop on your backline. And I keep saying eventually because it will happen. There is no question. If they're running dive, it might take a while, but they're gonna hop on your backline, no questions asked, right? Or maybe they have ball tracer sombra and they choose to hack you and hop on you, right? But you definitely have to be aware of these things. Right. Say micro missiles, you can use that to help peel. You can use that to poke, right? If you're on an angle and you see access to the enemy's backline, you can use your micro missiles to get some early damage off. Maybe you can force a CD, maybe you can force a nade, force a pack, force lamp, force shift, something, right? You can get a lot done with your micro missiles, offensively and defensively, right? So we spoke about positioning, right? If your bat brig is here, D.Va wants to be here, or maybe start here, sure, I guess, but be able to fly over if need be, right? Or D.Va can start here, get some damage into their backline, but once again, fly over if need be. But you just need to have a good idea or be fairly close to your brig and to your Zen, right? To where if they get dove, you can peel for them by using DM and using your body and using your micro missiles and fusion cannons and all your kit, basically, right? So yeah, that's where you should be positioned, somewhere close by to your backline, right? But close enough to where you can peel for them, but you can also peel for your front line and assist your ball and tracer on the dive if need be, or DM your ball if need be, whatever, right? So question, if you have any questions on the positioning, that should answer it. Welcome to Shad. Yeah, what's up, guys? I know Maggot and Jed is new. Thank you guys for the follow. Welcome to the community. Make sure you join up in a Discord. Put an exclamation mark Discord for them, and you can hop up in there, and we can get some educational content done in the Discord as well, right? So that's D.Va. Any questions on D.Va from my D.Va players in chat? If not, we're gonna move on to Tracer, the Tracer character. I'm pretty hungry. Okay. I don't know what I'm gonna eat. I think I have something on the stove. Anyways, so no D.Va questions. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm hungry too. Yeah, I'm fucking starving, man. Okay, so Tracer, right? You're diving, you're poking, you're dueling. Tracer is the best duelist in the game. I want chicken nuggets. What kind of chicken nuggets do you eat? What do you think are the best, base? Okay, let me finish this first. So yeah, you're either diving with your ball, you're either poking from being annoying to the enemy's backline, or you're dueling somebody. You're either marking the tracer or, you know, shooting ball or something, right? If you see an opportunity to. But I'm a fan of Chick-fil-A ones. Yeah, it's funny. I don't like Chick-fil-A nuggets, even though I'm a huge fan of Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A to death, but I'm not a fan of their nuggies. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Tracer. So you're either diving with your ball, you're poking, just being annoying as shit, or you're dueling somebody, right? Almost always. If you're confused as to what you should be doing as Tracer, it's one of those things, right? You're either diving with your ball, you're doing stuff in the backline, being annoying as shit, poking, right? Or you're dueling, right? So if you have no idea what you should be doing right now, it should be one of these three, maybe all of these three. Thank you for the Prime subscription, Jet. Appreciate you. Welcome. Right? So Tracer, you're either diving, you're dueling, or you're poking, being annoying, letting them focus on you. So this is where this is where everything kind of ties together, right? So it's called the ball tracer comp for a reason, because once again, these two characters are closely related, right? And this is where we're going to kind of tie everything in together. So what is that resource that we spoke about that's very, very important? And if you can buy it, you're good to go. Can anyone answer? What's that resource that's super, super important that we spoke about? Attention. Yes. Very good job. Yeah. Right? So once again, this is where everything is going to fall in together. Ball plus Tracer equals ultimate attention grab, right? These two characters are very, very good at buying the enemy's attention. Each of them are good in their own respect, but together they're unstoppable, right? Because we'll go back to that thing where I said you want to always force the enemy into, oh shit, you always want to force the enemy into bad choices. You always want to give them two choices, but whatever they choose, you always want it to positively affect you. So we'll put under attention let's say, I think I gave an example here, but I'll give another one. Sure, I guess. So I don't know, let's say they're running a rush comp, right? So let's say they're running blah blah blah. Let's say they're running the Ryan and D.VA here. The May and the Cassidy are up front a little bit, and the BAP and the Lucio, or the BAP alone, is kind of back here, sitting in the back, right? When the Ryan engages and the D.VA engages and they're looking to make a play, what is the enemy team, or what is the front line? They're kind of like a single cell organism, right? They're focused on whoever it is that they're trying to rush towards, right? So if that's their focus and the fight has broken out and the two teams are engaged, the Zen is throwing orbs, the D.Va is throwing micro missiles, the other DPS is doing damage, all the BAP is focused on right now is healing his team, and all his team is focused on right now is trading back damage with your team, right? But in this chaos, in this trading of damage, of fire, your ball and Tracer are good to go, right? Because right now the enemy team's focus is here, or whoever it is that's here, right? And this is where your ball can go for a PD, your Tracer can follow up and put some damage onto this Baptiste, if not kill him, force out lamp, right? And BAP without lamp is just a free kill at that point, right? So multiple things are gonna happen when this ball and this Tracer hop on this Baptiste. It's either his D.Va is going to retreat now back to the Baptiste to help heal for him, which is what she should do, or we're gonna force out lamp, we're gonna force out shift, we're gonna get DM out, right? But something important is happening when this D.Va is now peeling for the Baptiste. Because what does that mean for this guy? What does that mean for the guy with the rectangular shield on the front line? What does that mean for him if his D.Va went back to peel for the Baptiste? Anyone can answer. I'm not looking for only Tracer players. Anyone can answer. If the D.Va leaves her Ryan to go peel for BAP, what does that mean for Ryan? I need some chips. I got these Hershey's Kisses. They're very good. They're tasty. They're delicious. If you're lactose intolerant, you can't eat chocolate, right? I think. Is that what that means? You just can't eat any dairy or drink any dairy? Anything with milk in it, right? Exactly, right? So he's out in the open, no DM, no nothing. His Jin is gonna spam his shield down. He's gonna get discorded. Your D.Va's gonna spam his shield down. Your second DPS is gonna spam his shield down. He is exposed. So even if we don't kill this Baptiste back here, what did we buy? What did we buy? Attention. Right? And with that attention, we forced them to make a decision, right? And that D.Va had a choice to make. Stay with my Rein and allow my Baptiste to die, or go back to my Baptiste, use all my DM, and expose my Rein to death. Whatever choice they make is a benefit to you. Because if they choose to ignore you, Baptiste dies. If they choose to go back and peel for Baptiste, Rein is now in trouble. At threat of death. Because Discord is a balanced ability. Right? The right decision for the D.Va is to come back and peel. Yeah, that's the right decision. 100%. Right? Or maybe if you have like a Cassidy, the Cassidy can help out, but D.Va needs to come back and peel for the Baptiste. So this is one of the strengths of the comms. Right? What the hell is D.Va supposed to do? As in, how, like, there's nothing, there's no situation there as D.Va where you win. Right? Because someone is going to be exposed. But the choice is, I'd rather my Rein, the tank, be exposed than my backline, the squishy target, being exposed. You know? But the moment that happens, our core, our team, should now aggressively dump resources into trying to kill this Rein. Because this D.Va just flew all the way back here for the Baptiste. Rein is now exposed. Right? So it's either we dump resources into trying to killing the Rein, or the Mei, or the Cassidy, or whatever they have for their rush comp. Right? So the ball and the Tracer just made space, baited their attention, and now our team can look to make a play. Right? If the Rein is stupid, he might even like turn around to somehow go back and try to help out the Baptiste when Rein isn't a very good peel character, right? If someone's getting dove in your backline as Rein, you can't do anything about it. Right? The time it'll take you to walk your freaking giant ass back there, the dive is probably done. It's probably gone. Right? They probably disengaged already. And then you just went back here and now you gave up all that space. Right? So yeah. That's why the comp is very, very annoying, because there is no perfect decision. Whatever choice you make, there is some consequence to it when you're playing against that comp. Right? Cool. So, with that being said, you and your ball are best buddies, right? You don't need to be with them every second of the day, but when either if you're trying to accomplish something, get a kill, push a lane, use an ult, you definitely want to talk, you definitely want to be with each other, and you definitely want to talk to each other, right? What is needed all around the clock between you and two, though, is comms. You got to be talking to each other, man. You have to be talking to each other. You have to be talking to each other. You have to be talking to each other. It is required. It's not a question. It's not a tip. It's not a trick. You need to do it every single engage. Right? Something as simple as your ball saying slamming in 3, 2, 1, and all you have to say back as Tracer is I'm with you or I'm not with you. Something like that. Because that now will change the decision that your ball makes. Because if he's going to slam into 3 people, 2 of which have stuns, but you're not with him, he isn't going to accomplish anything. He's just going to get CC'd and fuck around and die. However, you saying I'm with you means, okay, I'll tank these 3 CCs, but I'm going to allow my Tracers to go in, because now I know that she doesn't have to worry about those 3 CCs, because I just took them. Right? So that's just an example of what a comm between a Tracer and a ball should look like. It doesn't have to be chatter 24/7. It really, really doesn't. You don't have to lead the team, as I said, with ball. Just talking to each other and understanding what it is that each person is doing, where they're at, etc. I'm with you. I'm not with you. Give me 2 seconds. My recall is back in 2. I'm waiting for 2 more blinks. Just calming your abilities, calming what you're trying to accomplish, or what it is that you're thinking, you know? And it's hard to do. It's not easy. That's why I'm saying start small. Start with just your abilities first, and then you can work your way up. Right? Yeah, so your ball needs to be coming with you when he's looking to initiate, and you need to communicate with him whether you can engage or not. Or similarly, what is that you're trying to do? You know, I just did. I said you can say I'm with you, I'm not with you, whatever. You know, whatever it is in comms that you want to say, right? Things required / things you need to improve on. As I said, I already kind of spoke on the mobility characters. You definitely want to work on your map knowledge, your game sense, your game knowledge, how to get to X. I keep going back to this because it's very, very important. I've seen so much bad, terrible pathing on players that play these mobility characters, that play ball. They go for the most obvious to engage, and then they get discorded, then they get bashed, and they get just CC'd and die. Or you get your recall forced out in the first 2 seconds of the game, right? Which you don't want to happen, right? So that thing that I keep recommending for ball and tracer is that map knowledge, just knowing how to engage, right? How to get to your target, right? Knowing the best possible route to get to your target, right? Know when to play objectives and when to fight and shoot, right? So I gave the example earlier, and this goes back to the attention thing as well. So the payload is here, right? You just cap point. You're getting spawn camped by the enemy team. The bad guys are here, and you guys are in spawn. As tracer, you can swoop around to the payload and force the enemy to now come to the payload. So let's say you guys are getting stomped. You cannot leave spawn. They are just rolling you. Well, they also have something to do. They need to stop the payload, right? So you as tracer going to force the payload now forces the enemy team to split up, right? They're either going to send 1 or 2 people to go and stop the tracer from pushing the cart any further, and that means your team can make a play because now the enemy team is missing 1 to 2 players, right? So they're either missing their D.Va or their Lucio or their whoever, right? Because that person had to split off from the team and come and try to stop you from pushing the cart further, right? So it's that same thing where you want to give them a choice, and whatever choice they make, you want it to benefit you. Okay, so they come to stop you from cart, but now they're split, and now your team can hop on them and take advantage of it. Okay, they choose to ignore you, you can push cart for free, right? So whatever they choose, you get a plus, right? You're up 1. Cool. And then that pretty much covers it for tracer. Like, as I said, there's a lot of more micro stuff, but for the most part, if you want to go on specifics and when to engage, how to engage, you should look for a VOD review from me, right? And we can get into the nitty gritty of the character. But for the most part, this is what you should be looking for, right? So we spoke about the thing to remember, right? Your dive, your poking, and your dueling, right? That's sort of shit. So the Zenyatta character, where are my Zen players at, right? We got the Omnic, I don't even know what to say. the robot support himself, right? Or itself. Are Omnics? Do Omnics have genders? I don't think so, right? They're just, yeah, I don't know. I think they have genders. I think he calls himself a him. I'm not sure. Anyways, yeah. So Zen. Zen. My mantra for Zen is damage, survive, then damage some more. Right? Or you can swap out survive with live. So hold on. So it's one second. I hope my music didn't go out. Did it go out? No, it's still going. Okay, good. You know what? I'm gonna play. This song has been stuck in my head for the whole day, and I'm gonna force you guys to listen to it on loop. I'm gonna force you guys to listen to it. Okay. All right. Turn it down a bit. So Zenyatta, right? Oh, right. Source up for Zen. Can you give input on the? Okay, sure. I fuck with it, Moth. I like it. Are you gonna like do any more changes to it? I'd like to see it like another version if you have, but I like that base version. So Zen damage. no, it's about the emotes. Okay. So for the Zen damage, live, damage, some more, right? Zen is the one part of the comp that players just seem not to understand. Like, what does Zen even do in this comp, right? What does Zen do, right? Can anyone answer? What do you think? What do you think Zen does in this comp? Aside from me kind of giving you hints here. Right? Why not play Ana here instead of the Zen? Why not play Baptiste instead of Zen? Because you still have the Brig for protection, so why not play Ana? Why not play Baptiste or Ana? Why play Zen? My girlfriend uses, I don't know if you guys, it's like these it's like toothpaste, but it's like a tablet. It's like a tab. It's like a thing called Bite. Like a company called Bite. Pretty cool. It's like you bite down on it and it like makes a toothpaste. You know? It's pretty cool. But anyways, yeah. So let's look in chat. You guys said damage is healing. Then is the main character. It's all about his LOS and discords. 3 seconds LOS orbs, sure. Also harmony orbs gives Tracer massive dual potentials to hold a lane. Sure. Right? Yeah. Zen is the hyper carry. Zen is your ADC. Zen is your ADC. Boom. Right there. Right? Imagine this is a MOBA. Zen is your ADC. And he's the guy that's doing the constant sustained pressure. He's the guy that's denying the enemy from doing what they want because they fear him, right? Yo, Venom, what's up, man? ADC means attack damage carry, so it's normally like glass cannons, guys who do a lot of damage but don't have any sort of peel or any sort of like help, you know, from themselves. What's up, right? So ADC is an attack damage guy, so they're like glass cannons. They do a shit ton of damage, but they have no defenses. Literally Zen in a nutshell, right? He does a lot of damage. Discord plus his primary fire does a lot of damage. But when it comes to 1v1ing, it's not that great. Or maybe it's actually pretty good. But yeah, no self-sustain basically. Yeah, right? So Zen is that guy. Literally, he is the definition of an attack damage carry. And he can heal, right? So the thing that a lot of Zen players just I don't know, I wouldn't say refuse to understand, but they just don't understand is as Zen, it is, once again, I give a pinnacle for each character. So this is the pinnacle for Zen, right? You need to see all of the possible angles, all of the possible ways, all of the possible lanes the enemy dive can engage you from. Right? Because you cannot be surprised as Zen. Right? Because to be surprised is to be reacting to something. You don't want to be reacting to anything as Zen. You need to be anticipating it, and then you can react to it, sure, right? But at that point, you anticipated, so you expected it to come, right? So, for example, here, you want to position yourself in a way where you can see under, you can see above, you can see main, and you can see over on right side. Those are the only possible ways the enemy can engage, and obviously, you know, if it's an echo, they can be flying in the air, right? But we're talking dive specifically. So you need to be positioned to where you can put in initial damage, but also see where it is that they're going to engage you from, right? Because you can't just be here. You can't just sit here as Zen on the front line, spamming damage, yeah, but then the ball and the tracer sneak up behind your ass, and then boom, you get PD'd and shot by tracer in the head. Right? That's normally what's going to happen anyways. But the difference is you would be prepared for it. You would tell your D.Va, hey, yo, ball's going to slam me in a few seconds. Tracer's going to slam me in a few seconds. I saw them come from under. I saw them come from main, whatever it is. Right? But you need to know where it is that the enemy can attack you from. You need to always have LOS on that. Right? You cannot get caught. You can't get caught with your pants down as Zen. Right? You can never get caught with your pants down. Right? Because it's almost always GG at that point. Right? And not only that, and we call that distance from angles, by the way. You need to have good distance from angles, meaning you have distance from the angles that the enemies can attack you from. Right? And not only is it good because you can see when they come, but you can do damage to them before they engage. You can discard the ball when he rolls through. And what is Discord used for as well? It's a good ability to see where the enemy is. So let's say ball rolls right through here. He comes from under, and you're able to Discord him for the next what? 3 to 4 seconds. You literally have wall hacks on him, so you can know if he's coming right on top of you. Oh, right? You can tell if he's gonna engage on top of you because of Discord, right? So just knowing and being able to see where they can attack you from, beautiful, right? You have wall hacks on them for the next 3-4 seconds, right? So that was my pinnacle advice on Zen. You need to have good positioning where you can see all the possible ways the enemy can attack you from and be prepared for their attack. Right? Cool. So, Zen. Damage, survive, and damage again. Sounds pretty simple, because, well, it is. The main thing you're going to be focusing on Zen is your positioning, right? Because not because you're positioned here doesn't mean you're going to stay here. You can rotate back here, right? Shit. You can drop down to the low ground if you're an insane person, right? There's a lot of places you can go. But what is super important as well is you're the main character, right? As Dragon, I think, said, right? Your Brig goes where you go. Your D.Va kind of goes where you go, at least close by, right? So when you want to make a move, when you want to make a rotation, you need to combat with your Brig, or you need to combat with your Sig, or your D.Va, or maybe your other DPS if you have like a Cassidy or a Hans or a Ashe or something. Hey, I'm looking to rotate over here. Hey, I'm looking to rotate back here, right? Their job is to make sure you are enabled, right? One of D.Va's jobs, whether you're Zen or not, is to enable her teammates, right? So your D.Va will now be enabling you by being relatively close, kind of acting as your bodyguard a little bit, right? While still doing what it is that she needs to do. While your Brig is just in full bodyguard mode. The only time, well, and we'll get to when we get to the Brig section, the only time your Brig's not really with you is if they're not running dive. At that point, you don't even need to be on Brig. You probably just go Mercy, just go Zen Mercy, and, you know, go like Echo or something. But that's besides the point. So yeah, you are commanding your Brig, you are commanding your D.Va, and you are letting them know where it is that you're trying to rotate to, so you can get an angle into the enemy or get an angle into their backline and assist your ball tracer by using discords and just damaging, or just damaging the front line and discording them. Right? He's your constant frag master, right? He's watching all lanes and dealing damage to the enemy core or their backline if he has access to it. For Harmony Orbs, your ball should be playing health packs anyways, So your harmony orbs is probably not going to go on your ball. Maybe if you see him taking damage, you can throw it on him. But for the most part, your harmony orbs is most likely going to go on your D.Va, because your D.Va is going to be taking damage, right? She's going to be on an angle doing some poke, you know, peeling for your ball a little bit if he needs DM, right? So your D.Va is 100% going to be taking damage. She has no shield. She's a fat, huge character. Her character model is huge. She's going to be taking a lot of damage. So you're going to be keeping your harmony orbs on your D.Va, most likely, because your ball is either going to be rolling around, playing out of your LOS, hiding behind corners. You won't be able to see him. But if you can, sure, go ahead, harmony orb him. Why not? But it's either going to be your D.Va or your Brig when the dive starts, right? Because the dive will come, right? So it's either you're going to be orbiting your D.Va or you're going to be enabling your Brig when they start their dive, right? Obviously discording whoever it is that dives you, either the ball or the tracer, and harmony orbing your Brig, right? Brig is going to be packing your tracer. Brig's primary job, her main focus, her main pack usage is to be packing tracer, and then you can probably pack what about your squishies? Tracer should be getting packed from, I mean, you are the squishy. But once again, why Zen kind of has a little bit of drawbacks is he can't harmony orb himself. The only circus you have to harmony orb is your ball, D.Va, your Brig, and your DPS, right? We'll just put DPS. So if you're running the Sombra variant, you're not really going to be orbing your Sombra. Sombra's doing her own thing 50 million miles away from you, you know, doing her thing, right? So sure, orb her. Same thing with Tracer, right? If you can orb your Tracer, I guess, why not? But once again, she's going to be getting packed from Brig anyways. So you really do want to try to keep it on the people who are kind of stationary and a bit closer by, which is your Brig, which is your D.Va, right? And I'm not saying never heal your ball. Sure. Once again, if you can, go ahead. I'm not saying never orb your Tracer. If you can, sure, go ahead. I'm not saying never orb your Sombra. Sure, if you can, go ahead. When it comes to priorities, Brig's priority healing is going to go towards the Tracer, right? Your ball is going to be prioritized getting health packs. He's not going to be looking to you. He's not going to be sitting down waiting for you to heal him. He's going to be retreating to a health pack anyways. So that's where his main source of healing is going to come from. So it's like there isn't really anyone else to kind of heal with the harmony orb. You know what I'm saying? Other than you, other than your D.Va, your Brig, and maybe your ball, if you can. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, this is a hyper mobile comp. These guys are going to be zipping all over the place, right? They're going to be breaking LOS a lot of the times. So you won't be able to just constantly keep your Discord on them 24/7. You know, it'll definitely be you're definitely going to be reapplying it a lot of the time. The harmony orb, I mean, you're definitely going to be reapplying it a lot of the times, right? So yeah, I already went over about you can't be getting caught by surprise. Like, you need to be able to anticipate wherever the enemy is, and you can anticipate by knowing where they're coming from and by positioning better, right? On top of being able to see the enemy team and see where they're coming from, you need to be positioned in where you can do the damage, right? Because a huge part of his kit is the damage, is discording targets, and just saying, hey, you want to come main, you want to walk through here, you can't, because I am raining down Discord orbs at you. You can't just walk through here for free, because you are threatened by me as Zen, because I can just spam lane forever. Basically, Zen has like a 1.5 second reload time, right? Or even lower than that, probably like a 1 second reload time, right? So unlimited ammo, 20 in the mag, each shot does like 75 headshot, right? Insanity, right? Maybe even body shot. Let's see. Let's see his image. Or of destruction. Is this the one? Yeah, so with max volley, he can do 240 damage. So obviously one shot any 200 HP target, and chips down. Holy shit. SVB, thank you for the raid, man. You're insane. Thank you. I'm playing SpongeBob music, but you guys shouldn't mind that. Thank you for the raid, guys. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about ball dive. For all you people who play the ball dive, who are on teams, we are discussing it, how to play it, what each character should be doing, where you should be positioned, and just how the comp works anyways, right? In general. Yeah, big raid by SVB. Thank you. Right? So we spoke about just the comp in general, how to play it. We spoke about ball and D.Va and Tracer. We're talking about Zen, and we're going to go over to Brig right now. So if we have any Zen players and any Brig players in chat, you are in luck. We're talking about your character right now. Right? So yeah, Zen positioning, very, very important, right? You need to have a good distance from angles. You need to be able to see where the enemy is going to engage you from. You cannot be reacting to it, right? You can get caught with your pants down, but at the same time, you are also the big damage dealer, right? You are denying space by saying, F you, if you want to come here, you risk getting bursted in your head by me, right? On top of trying to have the enemy backline into your LOS so you can discord when your ball and your tracer engages, right? And you know, obviously calling your discords, that's just Zen standard stuff. Another important thing as well is knowing when to rotate. That just comes with a little bit more macro, just like learning like what would trigger you to rotate, right? So maybe you guys are up one, maybe the tracer is dead, right? Maybe your team has an advantage and somehow your team killed the tracer, so now it's just ball alone. That means you're not scared at all. You can do whatever you want. So you can literally communicate with your Brig, communicate with your Sig, communicate with your D.Va. Hey, I'm looking for a little bit more of an aggressive angle, so I'm gonna rotate from below and go up to the top so I can get once again a more aggressive angle on the enemy's backline, right? And obviously when the tracer comes back, you probably want to retreat, but you are the guy, right? So wherever you go, your Brig would not follow you. Your D.Va would be close by, so the D.Va comes directly with you or kind of stays here, but be able to fly to you when you come over here, right? Cool. So we call it distance from angles, right? Just being able to see the lanes and not get caught by surprise. It's just very important. You cannot get caught with your pants down. You are throwing, right? Cool. You're the big boss. Don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to boss him around, right? Brig literally has nothing else to do. Anyways, it's boring, right? There's nothing else to do other than go with your Zen, right? D.Va is a little bit different, but Brig, the most fun character in the game, right? What is our mantra in Brig, right? Peel. Hopefully my face isn't covering it. Let's see. It's cool. That's not. Peel. Aggro. Peel. Right? As we've spoken about this entire time we've been talking, everyone has their role, and really and truly, the only thing you're going to be doing as Brig did, you're just going to be sitting close by to your Zen. Yeah. It's not really, it's not, there's just no real fun. The only time you get any action is when the ball and the tracer dives you, or the Winston dives you, or whoever dives you. That's the only time you're really going to be active. So that's why there's variance though. So let's say you're playing the ball dive comp and the enemy team isn't running a dive comp. You don't need to be on Brig. you can go to Mercy. So you can run the Mercy Zen variant, right? In that situation, because there's no reason to be on Brig at that point. Right? Brig wants to get in brawl range with hard engages. Yo, what's up, Cal? Thanks for the resubscription, man. 7 month streak. Have I been streaming for 7 months, guys? Has it been 7 months? I think it's been 7 months, right? I think so. Because a lot of you OG guys have been resubbing for 7 months. So it has to be around 7 months since I started streaming. Yeah, I can only message now on nails. Yeah, my Twitch is I'm climbing in my Twitch channel for sure. When it comes to time streaming. But yeah, right? Peel, aggro, and peel. Right? I'm gonna see what you're pointing out. You guys are trolling. Which is funny because, as I said, the only time like I would say flip it, you know, go to Mercy is if they're just not running the dive. But if they are, you're then just gonna get blown up. You're gonna get blown up, dude. As much as it pains you, just lock the Brig, man. Just lock the Brig. Right? It sucks, but it is what it is. If you want the comp to work, if not, then you might as well just play another comp. Because Mercy Zen, when they're running dive, just doesn't really work. Your Zen is just not gonna have a good time, right? But thank you for the resubscription with 4 months, and you subscribe with your Prime. Appreciate you, base. Thank you. I have more time on Mercy than DPS this season. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you guys, man? How do you play Mercy? Well, I guess how do you play Brig? But anyways, back to the comp, because this is going to be a video. I need to actually get through this. I'm going to have to cut out these intermission parts where I go off on tangents, because the video is going to be like 2 hours long. But yeah, Brig, right? Peel, aggro, but peel, right? The only thing you're really doing, you're following your Zen, but because it's such a not really demanding playstyle, when you do have to do things though, you do need to be on top of them. You need to be on point, right? So that means you can't be wasting your Whiplash. You can't be wasting Bash, right? You need to be proccing Inspire when you're allowed to proc Inspire, right? So a huge drawback to the comp as well as the range, right? You don't have that much range damage. The only way you have a lot of range damage is if you swap to the Sig, and then you have like, I don't know, the Ash variant with Mercy, then sure, you have a lot of range damage, you have a lot of poke, but for the most part, the only person doing any sort of range damage is your Zen, right? So the only time you'll be able to really reliably proc your Inspire is with Whiplash, when the ball engages and when the Tracer engages, or if you see just a free opportunity to proc it with Whiplash, then sure. But the only time you're going to be proccing Inspire is when the enemy team initiates their dive on you and your Zen, right? So that means when it is time though, you need to have those cooldowns online. You can't be wasting your Bash before the dive starts. You can't be wasting your Whiplash before the dive starts, right? Because those are your real means of peel. Yeah, Inspire is broken, the range is incredible, but you still need the Bash to deny the ball, and you still need the Bash to deny the Tracer, and you still need the Whiplash to deny the ball, and you still need the Whiplash to deny the Tracer, right? So the main thing I'll say you need to focus on when it comes to Brig is just landing those abilities, right? Whip shot being priority number 1, right? You have to be landing those whip shots. You're gonna miss. There's no way you're gonna have 100% hit accuracy with Whiplash, but the more you practice, the better you get at it. The more you hit. The more you hit, the more Inspire you'll have procced, right? And you and your Zen should be positioned in a way anyways where you can see your team and you can see the enemy team, right? So if you proc Inspire, even though you procced it for your Zen and yourself because you're getting dove, because of the huge range of Inspire, you're now giving it to your Tracer, you're not giving it to your ball, you're not giving it to your D.Va, right? So that's why it's very, very important to be landing those cooldowns as Brig, because really and truly there's nothing else to do anyways, right? It's a very boring playstyle, right? You're just kind of hanging around waiting for shit to happen, right? The only time things change is either when you're running like a different variation of the comp, where if you have a Sig maybe and your Sig is looking to brawl, then you can go with your Sig, maybe put your Zen in the back a little bit or just have him come with you. But for the most part, you're just sticking with your Zen if you're running D.Va. If you're running D.Va Brig Zen, right? Because once again, there's literally nothing else to do. You're not gonna go aid the dive with ball and tracer if they're 10 feet in the back, right? I have more time on Mercy than DPS this season. I am desperate for my main support in rank to lock Brig. Yeah. And that's the thing with Zen in just solo queue. If you don't have a Brig and they're running dive, you're just not gonna have a good time. You literally, like, you're just gonna have to swap. There's no questions asked. If they're even running just a tracer and you don't have some sort of peeling support, then you're kind of just screwed, right? Like, if they break through your front line, it's GG, go next, you're dead, because you're going to be the target, right? You have no movement, you have no self peel. All you have is, well, I mean, I guess the damage is peeling a little bit, but if they want you, they're going to get you, basically, right? So yeah, that's the Brig, right? When it comes to why not move Brig with core and brawl range when your team gets to pull the trigger first strike. What? Why not move Brig with core and ball range? You definitely can do that. That's something that the team would have to discuss, right? If that's what you want to do, that's what your ball would calm. Okay, I'm looking for PD mines. You guys can push up a little bit, or your Zen, right? Because he's kind of like the shot caller when it comes to you and your D.Va, right? He's the one who's calling his rotations. He's like, okay, I'm rotating a little bit closer. We can look to brawl a bit more, but really and truly, you do want to keep your distance, though. And not because of you as Brig, you would love to be in there. You would love to be swinging and proccing Inspire, but that's not why you're playing Brig right now. You're playing Brig to enable your Zen, right? To keep him alive, proccing Inspire, making sure he doesn't die, right? You're not the main character in this one. It's your Zen. So whatever he says goes, you know? So if he wants to play a little bit closer, sure, go ahead, right? If you have Rally, get up in there. Right? If you have trance, get up in there. Right? But know that getting up in there might lead to your death. Especially if we're not really like firing on all cylinders, especially if our ball and our tracer aren't distracting the enemy team already, right? Because now they're all going to look at you two, right? Yeah, right. So when it comes to your packs, what is pack importance? Who comes first, right? So for the most part, if we're running the ball, the D.Va, the tracer, Sombra, Brig, and Zen, your tracer is your number one packing target, right? That's who's gonna get the majority of your packs, right? So in order of importance, it'll be your tracer first, then your Brig second. Let Marv take my spot for the VOD. I'll end the time with you later this week. I'm actually I'll get to you in a second. So yeah. Pack importance, right? You want to pack your tracer first, then your Zen, right? Your if you're getting Dove, right? Because you will be, once again, inevitable. It's gonna happen, right? So your tracer gets packed first, then your Zen, then you can give it to your D.Va, your ball. If it's Sombra, once again, Sombra doesn't need anything from you. Sombra needs no healing from you. Sombra should be positioned in a way where they can TP back to a health pack. But if they're mid-fight, sure, I guess you can go ahead and pack them. But you definitely need to have the packs for the tracer. You need to have the packs for your Zen. No questions asked, right? How to use packs? You always want to try to use it. You never want to just fucking 3 spam. Everyone knows that, right? You never 3 spam your Zen, your brick packs. You always want to use them in moderation. So, boom, your tracer's fighting. You throw her one. You wait like a few seconds, and you can throw her another one if she's still in the fight. If she chooses to regen, if she chooses to retreat, you can sit there and allow your packs to regen and pack her again when she goes in, right? Or when she's engaged in a fight, right? So It's never a spam, all three, or it's never spam two. It could spam two immediately. You always want to keep one though, right? But you definitely want to use them while using your brain. You never just want to throw them out there for no reason, right? You shouldn't be packing your ball. Ball shouldn't need any healing from you. If he's getting healing from anyone, it's a Zen, right? You shouldn't be packing your ball. Sure, maybe you can pack your D.Va, but tracer, right? If you can pack your tracer in the tracer 1v1, you are you've done a lot. Thank you for the follow, Red, right? If you can just throw one single pack to your tracer while they're engaged in the tracer 1v1 or while they're fighting, while they're doing their dive, you just enabled your tracer tenfold, because now instead of recalling, they can stay in the fight and complete their task or get the kill or force out more resources, whatever, right? We're back. Okay, dude. Right? So you enable your tracer up tenfold, right? You enable your whoever it is up tenfold, right? So imagine packing your Zen and proccing Inspire. Is your Zen gonna die? Nope. Right? Not a chance, unless they fucking like 3-man dive his ass. Then sure, I guess. But with Brig Bash and Whiplash, he should be fine. He should live. Right? McCree. Yeah, if you're playing the McCree, in the variation of it, 100%. Yeah, pack your Cree as well. Right? But we're specifically talking about the Ball D.Va, Tracer Sombra, Brig Zen version, variant, whatever you want to call it. Right? Your Whiplash is your only ranged form of proccing your Inspire, once again, so that's why it's super important. It's definitely a skill shot, right? I would say my advice to help, start small. I would only go if you're just not that confident in hitting your Whiplash, especially range ones. I would say the guaranteed Whiplash is the best Whiplash if you're not too confident. And what is a guaranteed Whiplash? The ball, right? Huge chunky character, right? You can't miss. You gotta be bad if you miss, right? Especially if he's right in your face, right? So go for the guaranteed Whiplash. Thank you for the follow. Music, appreciate you. Go for the guaranteed Whiplash, man. Right? You can, when you get better at it, you can hit the skill ones. You can try to hit the tracers, Wet Towel, True. You can go for the other DPS. You can go for the squishies. Sure, I guess. But for the most part, go for the guaranteed Whiplash. Once you get better, you can start going for the more risky ones. And I say risky because, once again, that's your only ranged way of proccing Inspire. So if you miss the Whiplash, that means we're not proccing Inspire. When they engage, they might play out of your LOS, out of your range, I mean, and you won't be able to proc it just by swinging, right? You might have to use Bash to get to them. If you use Bash to get to them, that means you can actually bash them. Yeah, you're proccing Inspire, but you lost half your CC. You know what I'm saying? So that Whiplash is very, 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 very important. Right? Cool. So I think that's it. I think we went over every single character except for the Sombra and the Echo. And I'm saving that for the next stream. Right? So we went over Ball, we went over D.Va, we went over Tracer, we went over Zen, and we went over Brig. Right? Because those, 5 make up the comp, right? The second DPS can be interchangeable. You can throw in a Cassidy in there, you can throw an Echo in there, you can throw Sombra, you can throw Ashe in there, you can throw Hanzo in there, you can throw a plethora of things, right? So that's the part, that's really why I kind of left out the second DPS role, because there's just so many options you can use. But on next stream, I'll definitely go into Echo, I'll definitely go into Sombra, and I'll go into probably a Cassidy, because those are the main 3 that you would want to throw into that comp anyways. So I'll go over those 3 on the next stream. Right? So to wrap up, right? Because we're wrapping up the comp, right? So standard ball dive, ball tracer, Sombra, D.Va, Brig, Zen, right? Some advantages of the comp is the high mobility, right? Tracer mobility, ball mobility, Sombra mobility, D.Va mobility, right? Super fast characters. They can get in and out really quickly. Polygon, that important carry me team. I mean, basically, right? Because you can be anybody, right? So advantage of the dive, mobility, right? The burst damage, super high burst damage. Ball PD and tracer, just 10 bullets from tracer's gun can kill a 200 HP target. Easy peasy, no questions asked, right? Super high map control. Your core is positioned somewhere. Your core is here, while your ball, your tracer are sitting somewhere waiting for the enemy team to push up so they can engage. The enemy team doesn't have anywhere to work with right now. They're literally kind of screwed, right? They're taking damage from main. They have to worry about their backs, right? They have to worry about getting flanked and PD'd on and rolled on and one clipped by tracer, right? So advantage, huge map control, huge mobility, huge burst damage, right? Some weaknesses, some things you got to pay attention to that kind of make the comp a little bit weaker, right? It is very comms dependent. You need to be talking. Your tracer and your ball needs to be talking. Your Zen needs to be talking to your Brig. Your Zen needs to be talking to your D.Va maybe. Your Zen maybe needs to be talking to your Cassidy. But there's some form of comms that needs to be going on. It's not a comm where you can turn your brain off, turn your mic off, and play it and you win. Doesn't happen. It's not going to work. You're going to die. You're going to get rolled, right? It is very timing dependent, right? The tracer and the ball cannot be out of sync, right? They need to be on some sort of timing together, right? Ball can't be going in and tracer's backing out using recall all the way across on the other side of the map. Tracer can't be going in by herself while ball's going to get a health pack, right? They have to be somewhat on similar timing, somewhat close by each other, where they can kind of take advantage of one person getting focused and kind of slip into the back and do damage while the other guy's getting focused. So boom, tracer waits for ball to get to engage. Ball gets bashed, whiplashed. Now tracer doesn't have to worry about bash and whiplash because ball just tanked it for her, and she can kind of take advantage of, you know, Brig not having any CC, right? So super timing centric, right? That's the weakness, I guess, right? And it is very comms dependent, and you lose the range battle. You have no sustained fire, right? All of your characters are relatively close except for your Zen. He's the only ranged guy on your team, right? Which is why Zen is so important, because he's the guy denying angles, right? So your ball has a machine gun close range, your tracer has an SMG close range, your Sombra has an SMG close range, your D.Va basically has a shotgun close range, your Brig only has one ranged ability, right? Everyone is relatively close range, so you lack range damage across the board, right? Zen is the only guy who's doing damage from range, right? So those are your weaknesses. So if you can somehow figure out a way to cover your weaknesses and enhance your strengths, you're good to go. You don't need any more help, right? Some requirements for the dive. A good setup. You have to be set up good, or not even good, just decent. You just got to have a decent setup. Your core needs to be in a good spot. Your ball needs to be in a good spot. Your tracer needs to be in a good spot. A great sweat of the team position that goes with the setting up, right? Your core is here, your Zen, your Brig, your D.Va is here, but your Zen can also see this angle. He can also see up here, he can also see here, and he can also see here, right? So he knows what's going on at all times, wherever the enemy team, wherever the ball dive wants to go. He knows, right? So he has all the information in the world. But at the same time, your ball's set up top, waiting to pile drive the enemy backline, right? He's waiting to pile drive, and your tracer's probably with him as well, so that they can just hop on the back line as soon as he gets this pile drive off. Right? You need to have good comms. Ball tracer talks. Zen talks to team. Right? You need to have a decent macro understanding of the game. All mobility characters. Your ball, your tracer, your Sombra, your Doomfist, your Echo, your Pharah, your whoever. If you're a movement character, your Lucio, right? You need to have a good macro understanding of the game. And what I mean by macro is, more specifically, map knowledge. You need to know the best way to get to X. Okay, this is where the Zen is. How do I get to the Zen? Do I go from bottom? Do I go from top? Do I go from main? Do I go from over here? Do I go up here? Like, what's the most optimal way of getting to my target, right? These are things you need to know, right? Because if you're just going to roll through main and jump up to him, you're going to get discorded, you're going to get micro missiled, you're going to get fusion cannon, you're going to get rocked, you're going to get flashbanged, you're going to get hooked, you're going to get Pirine charge, you're going to get all the CC in the book, right? However, if your engage is good enough and you avoid, for the most part, you'll never really be completely stealthy, right? For the most part, maybe one guy will see you, maybe two guys will see you, right? But if you're going through main where the entire 6-man of the enemy team can see you, you're asking to get CC chained and die, right? So that's what I mean when I say a good macro understanding. That map knowledge needs to go up, 100%, right? One of the most important resources in this comp that you can buy is this attention, right? If you can buy the enemy's attention, you are good to go. GG, right? Because if you can get them looking at your ball and your tracer, that means your Zen now has an opportunity to clap somebody in the head, right? If the D.Va has to fall back to peel for the Brig and the Zen, that means the ball and the tracer might not get in, will 100% not get DM'd on their engage, right? If you somehow force the ball to be distracted and try to help his backline, that means the tracer can't engage, or if she does engage, she's going to get rolled on her own, right? So if you can buy that attention resource, you're up one. You're good. You're setting yourself up really, really good, right? And that's that, boys, right? So I'll message you in a second here, Cree, but I'm gonna be rating my boy Natter over here, so you guys can definitely stick around for that. He's a really, really good educational coach. So if you guys want to stick around for Natter's stream, you definitely can. I highly, highly, highly recommend. I think you should, if you can. If you can stick around. If not, it's fine, I guess. But yeah, I'll be live again. I don't know when. But make sure you're in the Discord, so we can put an exclamation mark Discord in chat. And for all you new people who it's your first time here, definitely hop in. And you'll know when I'm live again. If you're interested in paid coaching, you can, to get a more privatized session, and I go way more in depth. You get added to my coaching channel where you can discuss with the other players who are my students, and I'll be checking up on your progress as we go forward. So if you're interested in paid coaching, you can. If not, it's up to you. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Catch you in the next stream.